name is T, and of course, we're talking scary movies. I appreciate you tuning in for another brand new episode. Remember, new episodes go up every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And you can you can listen to the audio version at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, half an hour earlier at 8 p.m. So, new episodes every Wednesday night. Now, I say that knowing that this is basically the last new episode for the next couple of months, because it is August 31st today when you're watching this, or presumably watching this. And if you haven't been tuning in the last couple of years here, which makes sense because, I started in 2020, and 2021 is really where I started to gain a little bit of footing there. But we don't really do new episodes in September and October because we're busy just watching a million different horror movies. We're going to haunted house. We're enjoying all the scary things that are happening around our areas and everything. So we're not really doing much in the way of official episodes. Now, I'll still be putting up reviews. There will still be a million reviews that I'm going to be putting up for all y'all as well. But we're just not going to do much in the way of traditional episodes after this one. I know that me and Mr. Ben Schatzel are going to be talking We're All Going to the World's Fair very, very soon. So I'm excited for that to come out because that was a movie I got to see earlier this year. And it's absolutely, without question, in the top 5 of the year. But I haven't done an official review of it because I always put my schedule out. And the schedule's been locked down until now. Yes, we're talking Predator 2 tonight. But after this, we're kind of open because I like to leave September and October open to just catch up on anything that I've been missing so far. And we got so many big ones coming out this month of September, including Pearl, the prequel to X. We have Hocus Pocus 2, the long-awaited sequel to the original Hocus Pocus movie. We have the American adaptation of Good Night Mommy, or Hello Mommy. And we have a lot more. Dark Harvest is coming out. I'm going to be talking Wormwood and Wormwood Apocalypse. We have so many movies. The Munsters, Mockingbird Lane. We have so many things we're going over the course of the next 2 months. But this is pretty much it for traditional episodes for the next couple of months. November 1st will be, or not November 1st, I say that. But, while there might be some mini episodes here and there, the next episode that y'all can expect is going to be November 2nd, which is the first Wednesday of November. So that's going to be the next traditional episode that's coming up. So I say all of that. I want to remind everybody again that you can obviously use my Fandango link. Please remember that if you use my Fandango promo code, you will actually get 20% off of your order. Now, you might be wondering, well, Theron, how do I go about getting that money off of Fandango? Well, that's actually a relatively easy one to do. And I say, if you use my link for Fangoria, which is shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW. Again, that's shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW. Or if you just go to the Fangoria shop and use my promo code AXDEW, you will get 20% off your entire order. And yes, that applies to subscriptions and one-time orders, but it only hits there on your first subscription order. So if you already have a subscription, this is not going to help you out here, but either way, go to shop.fangoria.com/axdu or use my code AXDEW to get yourself 20% off your entire order at Fangoria. They got some amazing things there, some great Fangoria branded merchandise. You can get some magazines as well too. It's the perfect place to get that Halloween gift for that special someone. So, what do we have to talk about today? We got a few things to talk about, including the fact that Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey just debuted its first trailer here earlier today. So we've seen it. Now, I'm going to watch it because, of course, I'm going to fucking watch it at that point. But I'm stoked just because of the fact that I have no idea what to expect. It's likely going to be overly cheesy for sure. But all we know right now is that it's at least going to be Winnie the Pooh in a Pooh Bear mask, it looks like, going around killing a bunch of teens. And I'm okay with that because it doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't connect in the least bit, but yet and still it sounds fucking awesome. So I'm stoked to see Winnie the Pooh and presumably Piglet, maybe Eeyore, maybe Owl, Roo, who knows, murdering off a bunch of teenagers. But the trailer came out today and it looks bloody, it looks cheesy, and it looks so much fun. That's obviously going to be a movie that we're going to check out together, and we're going to review on this show as well too. So stay tuned. That review is going to come once we get access to it now. But I'm excited. Sometimes stuff going in the public domain means that you're just going to get a bunch of bullshit. This has been the case with Night of the Living Dead. Night of the Living Dead has been in public domain for quite a while, which is why we have always gotten so many adaptations of the original Night of the Living Dead story. Most of those adaptations not being so good either. Anybody can take something that's in the public domain and go and make themselves a film out of it. And pretty easy to take the idea of Winnie the Pooh and decide that, you know what, we're going to make this big old horror thing. So I'm excited to see what they do with it. I'm not expecting quality in the least bit, but you know what? That's okay. I'm not looking for quality these next couple of months. I'm looking for fun and just insanity with that. So I am okay if this doesn't turn out to be an award winner or anything like that now. And I'll keep you on the loop. Once I get the information on where this movie can be streamed at, you're going to find out as well too, so we can keep up with Blood and Honey. Next, Jordan Peele recently revealed that the stories of Nope aren't being told. That basically that there are still more stories in this universe to be told, and that Jordan Peele is very much looking to tell those stories, implying that we might see some sequels or maybe even prequels to the stories that are being told in Nope. And I'm excited for this because honestly, even a couple of months later, there is still so much information to gather from Nope itself. It's an incredible film. Jordan Peele just continues to hit it out of the park with all of his various films that he's done, between Get Out, between Us, and between now with Nope. He's just keeping us all like hanging on to everything that he's doing. And I'm excited to see if there is a possibility of a Nope follow-up coming. Is this something he's directing? Is it just something he's writing? Is it just something he's producing? Because I want to see these other stories. I mean, I could speculate all day and say that there's another feature film coming. Or maybe there's another prequel coming. Like maybe Jordan Peele went the route of Ty West. Like for example, we know that the prequel to X is coming out here in just a few weeks, Pearl. And that Pearl was shot basically at the same time that X was, so they could reuse the sets, they could keep using the same actors at that point, and kind of cut their costs down. X, right now, is my favorite horror film of the year. So it stands to say that Pearl, even if it's only half of that, is going to turn out to be relatively great. So, did Jordan Peele do the same thing? Or is this just a case to where he knows he wants to tell more stories in this world and he's eventually going to put those to the lens? We don't know. Nope is available right now on all your favorite digital platforms. It's not available for free, obviously. So you have to rent, you have to buy it right now, and you definitely should because Nope is absolutely amazing. But the question really coming is for this sequel that's coming up here for Nope, what can we expect from that? Okay? And lastly, the last story that we're talking tonight is Scream Factory or Shout Factory, whatever you want to call them, Shout at Scream Factory. I've just got done revealing the special features that are coming up on their Halloween release, their 4K Halloween release of Halloween 6, which is The Curse of Michael Myers, Halloween 7, which is Halloween H2O, and Halloween 8, which is Halloween Resurrection. You might recall that Scream Factory, Shout Factory, whatever you call them, they just got done releasing within the last year they got done releasing the collector's edition of the Halloween series, which was basically Halloween 1 through The Curse of Michael Myers, and we got all these great new transfers of them, all these great new features. But what was interesting is that in the last year, we've gotten 4K releases of Halloween 1 through 5, which I myself went back through, and I know I grabbed it for 5, 4, and I think 3. I don't know if I did it for 1 and 2. I have to go back and look, because I don't think I went and bought the 4K 1 and 2, because I love 1, but it's like the one that's been released so fucking often that I don't need another release of the original Halloween. I might have bought it for Halloween 2. If I didn't, I'll have to pick it up this fall, because I want that in 4K for sure. But we're getting 4K releases of Curse, of H2O, and of Resurrection. And on one hand, I'm excited, because Curse is really what got me into the Halloween franchise. You know, it was back in the late 90s. I was living in California, and a next door neighbor had a recording of Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, and I was stoked to watch it. I watched it. It freaked me the fuck out. There was no Jamie Lee Curtis in it. There was no Danielle Harris in it either. So it's kind of like, okay, cool. You're not looking at any of these characters who have really made the franchise at this point. You're looking at a bunch of new characters. And I was sold on it. And I know a lot of people hate Halloween 6. And I know that with the producer's cut release, more people have come on board with it recently. But I'm a big Halloween 6 fan. I love Halloween 6 to death. It is absolutely one of my favorite in the series, just through the nostalgia regions of it. So I'm definitely going to get it for a 4K release. But it did get a new commentary featuring actress Marianne Hagan as well, too. So I'm excited to get that. That's going to be super cool to listen to a new commentary. Y'all know me. I'm a big-ass commentary nut. So I love it. I'm on board for that. But what's interesting, though, is that Resurrection is actually getting most in the way of new features. Scream and Shout Factory are notorious for basically taking an existing release, giving it a 4K release, and that you don't get much more with that. But what we've seen is that Resurrection is getting a large number of new featurettes that are being done on the actual film itself. And now, I don't know, does that mean that these are things that were never released and now they're finally releasing them to us, and that we're going to get all this old footage that we haven't seen in a minute? It very well could be that. But quite honestly, what I think it actually is new recordings and new footage that's been taken and implemented for this release. Because I know there's one called, it stuck out for me because I'm a big wrestling fan. There's one called The Butcher and the Blade that's about Sean Patrick Harris, who played Rudy in Halloween Resurrection. And it's like, I love The Butcher and the Blade because that's an AEW thing. That's a tag team in AEW. But that doesn't sound like something that would have been recorded back in the day. So I have to assume this is a new interview that was recorded with Sean Patrick Harris as one of the new pieces of footage that they have for Halloween Resurrection. So who knows? But it looks like Resurrection is going to get most in the way of new special features. So I'm super excited to go through and watch each of those at this point. And I got to get on board with ordering these because I haven't ordered them yet. I'm going to because I order everything. And I do want those in 4K. I got to have Curse for sure in 4K. H2O and Resurrection, I'm iffy on. I know H2O was like the big thing to get everybody back into the Halloween franchise. Jamie Lee Curtis is back. So you kind of feel like, yeah, we're finally getting back to what we know. But it wasn't for me. It was Curse. Then it was H2O. Then I kind of got to go back and catch up on all of our older Halloween films before Resurrection eventually came out. So I love them all, but I don't know if this is going to be one that I'm going to go and buy right away. We're obviously going to see the way that this release is handled. So make sure you're going to Scream Factory and Shout Factory. Get them right now while they're kind of on the best kind of deal that you can get. Obviously, they're going to drop. If you order them from Amazon, you might get that pre-order price guaranteed that if it drops before the release, which I think October 4th, I want to say, if it drops for the release of it, you'll get that money back. So go and check that out right now. And don't go anywhere, folks, because coming up, I have my review of Predator 2. Alright, so a few weeks back, I had the chance to review the film Prey, the latest entry in the Predator series that I said was, without question, the best film in the series. Like, let's not lie, let's not joke, it's better than the original Predator. And then I went on to go and review the original Predator film and talked about how, while I enjoyed it, it's still not my favorite or even my second favorite in the series. I have always been a huge Predator 2 fan. And I decided that, you know what? If we're going to talk about Prey, and that means we have to talk about Predator, we might as well go ahead and work our way throughout the series. Because we already did it with Alien, so let's hit it on the Predator side. So I am talking Predator 2. Now, I'm sure everybody remembers the original Predator at this point. Arnold and company go into the jungle, and they are then hunted down by this alien being who has all the weaponry of outer space and is a skilled hunter, and they're all massacred except for Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that's the end of that story. Now, here's the thing. In this day and age, and you get a sequel to something, or you get a prequel to something, we know in most cases there's going to be a big connection to that previous film. Weirdly enough, it's not as common in Hollywood, even as recently as the early 90s, that we carry a lot of continuity from one film to the next when you get a franchise. Horror is one of the only things that actually do that, but the thing is that typically we're talking about the more not explicit's not the right word, but the more I don't know, like, I don't want to say hokey either, because they're not hokey, but like, okay, your Halloweens get sequels, their continuity's there. Nightmare on Elm Street, continuity's there. Friday the 13th, continuity's there. Child's Play, continuity is there. And with a film like Predator, there's a question of how much continuity do you actually need to keep? And I say that because the movie starts off in which we think we're right back into the jungle, because the shot that's opening up to the world that we're going to be in for the run of this film is like, okay, you saw what happened in the last one. All these big meaty men are out in the middle of the jungle, and they get massacred by an alien. Well, the same thing oh, wait a minute. That's not the jungle. We're just right outside L.A. Love the fake out there, moving us to a different kind of jungle, because cities are often called jungles, and big cities, big metropolises like LA would absolutely be considered a concrete jungle. Predator, Concrete Jungle, a game that was on, consoles 4 generations ago? Yeah, 4 generations ago. That sounds right now. Anyway. So our setting is in Los Angeles. And the entire storyline here centers on the drug war that's currently going on in LA. Things are crazy. Cops are fighting all of these different gangs and cartels, and they're really pretty much at a stalemate right now, because the cops aren't really making much in the way of progress, and the gangs are taking over more and more and more. And that's kind of first a bit of the commentary about that the movie's trying to say as well too. And what I love is that it's very representative of the time too, because you have to think this is the early 90s in LA. The riots are happening, the Rodney King stuff is happening, racial tensions are high right now. Things are kind of crazy, and the drug war was such a big thing in the late 80s, early 90s as well. So it's kind of the whole art imitating life thing, to where we're getting a glimpse of what LA is supposed to be, just heightened up a few feet there. And I say that because later in the movie, there's this part to where the Predator is hunting Danny Glover's team on the train, and every single person on the train has a gun. They're all strapped at that point. It's like, hey, only in LA in the 90s, right? So we get dropped right into the jungle of Los Angeles in the middle of this drug war, and we're introduced to Danny Glover's character, Lieutenant Harrigan. Now, Lieutenant Harrigan, we can see that he's clearly dedicated to his job. Maybe that's not necessarily loves what he does, but he's dedicated to his job and wants to help people out genuinely. So, when they're having an issue right now, he comes right into the middle of a shootout, and he decides he's just going to take matters into his own hands because the SWAT team's not there to help them out. So he's got to save the day. And so he takes his car, gets a vest on, gets all his guns all strapped up, and dives right in. And I love the way they present Danny Glover right off the back with this, because they kind of have to give that nice, maybe not a contrast, but show that Danny Glover is just as gritty and tough as Arnold Schwarzenegger can be, because clearly we're not going to be around a bunch of bodybuilders and all these army guys in the middle of the jungle with all these big ass guns. And so by showing Danny Glover as this take charge leader who's got all these guns, he's ready to shoot whatever, he's brave, he's the hero, whatever you want to say, it's already showing that, okay, cool, this guy's on the same level as Arnold in the squad. He doesn't need to be like all those other guys. Not to say that Danny Glover's not a strapped young dude at that point or anything, but I'm just saying he's not presented the same way that Arnold and the others are. So this is a great way to show that he's still the big hero with all of this. We also get to meet some of the rest of Danny Glover's team as well, too, which includes, at least at that moment, Ruben Blades, who you might know from Fear the Walking Dead, amongst a bunch of other things, as Detective Danny Archuleta. And then we also have Maria Conchita Alonso as Detective Leona Cantrell. And again, we get this team introduced earlier on because what I love about it is this movie really tries to set itself up as a slasher. And I say that because the original Predator, it does have those elements to it, but I do feel that everything was just happenstance at that point. I get the idea, like you get the idea there that if Arnold and his team had stumbled in there, none of this would have happened, and that's too coincidental for me. You know, the story's not based around the Predator. And it's not that this one is as well. It's based around this drug war, but that's the perfect place for a serial killer to come in, because not only is this killer taking out all these drug lords, but this killer's also targeting the police as well, too. And so it really does come off as this genuine slasher. So even though all these other victims are in this film, getting us introduced to our core group, which is Harrigan and the rest of his squad, is the right way to do it, because they're the ones we're going to get the best connection to. And we're introduced to the Predator right off the jump, which I appreciate, because we know we can't do what we did in the first one again. And that's one thing that I have to give the Predator series so much credit about, is that the series never wastes time like, oh, what's the Predator gonna look like, or anything like, oh, we don't know if it's a Predator, because it's like every filmmaker basically said, look, everybody knows who the hell the Predator is. We don't need to reintroduce the Predator. Like, yes, it's a different one. Yes, they have their own characteristics and everything, but we're not doing this whole thing about, well, is it a Predator or is it not? Every single movie that Predator is in, quick. And I love the fact they don't fuck around with it. Right off the jump, in the middle of this shootout, the Predator's right there observing. And the Predator's observing, obviously, this cartel, this gang that the cops are involved with, but the Predator's also observing Harrigan and his squad as well, too. And from there, we begin expanding a little bit, because we start getting our connections to the previous film, because then we are introduced at that point to Special Agent Peter Keyes, played by Gary Busey, who has stepped in to, as Danny Glover's been told, to basically take over the investigation, take over this case that Danny Glover's been working with, all of the drug cartels and the gang wars and everything that's going on. Now, we know something else has to be going on at that point there, because it's kind of just a weird thing for, you know, a special agent to step in this case, when Danny Glover seems to be making progress, at least according to us, what we can see. So right off the jump, we can tell something's up with Keyes, something's not on the level with that, and obviously it turns out that Keyes is running this task force that is aware of the incident with Arnold and company back in the original Predator, and they're trying to catch this new Predator that's here in town. And we spend basically the next 90 minutes watching the Predator take out all these various drug lords and a number of Danny Glover's team. And what I love about it is that everything is, again, set up the same way that a slasher movie was. Doesn't matter what the character is. Like they're all set up in the same way to be killed in all these elaborate ways. Like, take King Willie, for example, who's in charge of one of the Jamaican voodoo gangs, who meets with Detective Harrigan to talk about who's going around killing all the rest of the drug lords. And then King Willie has to face off against the Predator in this badass standoff where he pulls a sword out and the Predator's like, yep, I got the wrist blade, let's go. And yeah, we don't get to see the fight because King Willie gets fucked immediately, and I absolutely love it. Or when we unfortunately see that Detective Archuleta is killed by the Predator when he goes to pick up some evidence from another massacre that the Predator was involved with. The Predator, who's observing the crime scene, takes him out. But with all these deaths in this movie, the Predator really attacks like a serial killer would. And I love that because we've already seen the brutality. We know that if you're putting somebody against the Predator who has the weaponry to face them, that's a warrior of any kind, even then he's already taken them out. That's what Predator 1 showed us. And Prey showed us if he doesn't take him out, they at least stand a chance. So in this film, I love the fact that they give us a completely different idea here, that the Predator doesn't need to overpower these people. It's a simple of, let me sneak up and take you out. I don't need to make that noise. And I love that because it's highlighting the hunter aspect of this, because sometimes that gets lost in this franchise to where it's like they're the best hunters, but a lot of hunters are about not making noise and concealing their evidence. And it reminds me a lot of Aliens vs. Predator Requiem, which is a terrible film. But that entire movie is about a predator going around and cleaning up the mess of the previous film, of basically saying, fuck, like, all this evidence is out there of our, like, existence, of the xenomorph's existence. I have to clear all of this shit out to the point to where there's going to be, again, a nuclear strike to stop all of that shit. And so I love that the idea of Predator 2 is that the City Hunter, which is the name of they don't call it that, but that's what it's been effectively known as. The City Hunter in this is absolutely a professional trying to hide its tracks. So we get all these great standoffs between the Predator and all these victims, including this great scene on the train to where Bill Paxton's character has now joined the team. And shout out to Bill Paxton. That man's a legend. He's been killed by a Terminator. He's been killed by a Xenomorph. He's been killed by a Predator as well, too, because he gets an awesome fight against the Predator. And I love it. Like, this scene is just fantastic because, again, it's very reminiscent of L.A. We're showing that, our hero characters are there. They're just trying to get home, and the Predator has chased them down because it's looking to isolate Harrigan by itself. And so he chases his team down and attacks this entire train. And then when it gets to Leona, and we actually get to see the Predator hold back. And remember, we got to see that in the original Predator as well, too. And there's a reason then. There's a completely different reason for the Predator holding back this time in this second film. And it's just interesting because, again, we showed that this Predator is very clear about not wanting to make messes, because there's another incident in the film where somebody catches a glimpse of the Predator, and again, it chooses not to take care of that because it's basically deciding that without the mayhem, we're probably still good to go. This film does packed a lot of scares in it for me as a kid, because this Predator is brutal and his arsenal is much bigger than it was. In the original film, is really just the shoulder cannon, and it was the wrist blade, and that was about it. This Predator's got the wrist blade and the shoulder cannon's back, but now it's got a spear. It's got this smart disc that it throws. Like, this thing is an OG. And including, like, we get to see this awesome scene where it busts out a field med kit to where it busts up some ceramic tiles, and it makes a freaking salve that close up its wounds from all these gunshots that Harrigan has given it, and cuts its arm off. Oh, it's so fucking awesome. I love that scene. Now, here's the thing. There are very loose connections to the first Predator film. And that's one thing that I really do enjoy about this franchise, is that whether it's on purpose or whether it's, just acts, it's the way that all the filmmakers just don't want to have to worry about all the shit that came before or what might be coming next. Every Predator film has been isolated. There's been loose threads from each one, but every Predator film has been isolated, so you don't have to worry about building that mythology up. And that's why this Predator series always works so well, because the whole idea is you make a movie and you put the Predator in it. And that's how that works. And that's why this movie worked so great, is because the honest to God truth is that the story about the drug war and the gang war that's going on in LA is actually super interesting. And the fact that it then becomes about there's this killer who's taking out all these drug lords and this all these gang leaders, and that's a problem as well too. And it's such a great story to then reveal it's the Predator that's doing it. We have all this carnage and all this mayhem. It was terrifying as a kid. It was absolutely terrifying. This movie scared me way more than the original film did, and it still holds up. Doesn't scare me anymore, but it still holds up with not just some amazing cinematography, including holding up the spear, lightning strike, or what I'm saying, the spear, the spine, excuse me. So fucking awesome. But also the soundtrack, which is getting its due these days as well too. This is my favorite film. My favorite film. Praise the best film in the series, but Predator 2 is my favorite film in the series without question. I love the characters. I love the City Hunter Predator. It's my absolute favorite Predator of the entire series. I just saw a bug went by, so that's why my eyes are going over. Anyway, but definitely check it out, y'all, especially right now where Prey is just doing so well on Hulu. Predator 2 should still be available for you to watch on Hulu as well, too. So check that out, y'all. And don't forget to come back and check out my review of Predators. Hey everybody, I appreciate you checking out this video, whether it was a review, whether it was a new episode, whether it was an unboxing, an interview, or whatever else. I want to remind you can check out my separate reviews also on my YouTube page, and new full episodes go up every Wednesday night on YouTube at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and on your favorite podcasting platforms at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like and share. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.